Hello everybody, welcome to Hard Rock Nation. This is video number 3 of what I've learned on music theory, and this is the sheet of paper that I've been using and writing stuff down on. It's kind of hard to see because you can see through the back. But that's basically all my notation. So in the last video that we did, we learned the 7 major keys, and we learned the notes that were in the major keys. Like for example, in the key of D major. Hold on one second. So for example, on the key of D major, you find your D note. This is E flat, but we're doing this in this tuning because I'm fixing to create a different song progression type deal, and we can't have another guitar and another tuning it because it won't quite work. So this is D, the D note. You know, because it's the same as your D string. And this is the key of D major. A D major bar chord. But now we have learned how to do chords and to play them across these various scales. So basically, in a nutshell, it's basically math for guitar. So you have the key of C, for example, you have the 7 different notes: C, D, E, F, G, A, B. And with that going on, you have 7 different chords that go with it that accompany each note. So for example, you have the C chord, D chord, E chord, F major chord, G major chord, A major chord, and B diminished chord, which is the last chord. Every chord that ends a scale is going to be diminished. Has a very interesting sound. You're fixing to hear what that sounds like. So you have intervals. You have 1, 4, 5 intervals, and you have 2, 3, 6 intervals. 1, 4, 5 and 2, 3, 6. 1, 4, 5 is always major, and 2, 3, 6 is always minor. That is the best way to figure this out. And basically, for example, the first chord is major. The second chord is minor. The fourth chord is minor, and then the fifth chord is major. And then for the 2, 3, 6, the second chord is minor, the third chord is minor, and the sixth chord is also minor. The seventh chord is hardly ever used unless you're a jazz musician, which they use that stuff a lot, and it would be diminished. So basically, you have a fraction. You have 2 steps over 1.5 steps is a major chord. 1.5 steps over 2 steps is a minor chord. 1.5 steps over 1.5 steps is a diminished chord. Now basically what that means is how many frets up you go. So for example, C to D is 1 step. D to E is another step. But E to F is half step. So let's say, for example, you had your D chord. Your D chord is going to be a minor chord because it has, from D to F is a whole step, and from F to A is actually a whole step as well. So from D to F is going to be a step and a half, and from F to A is going to be 2 full steps. So that chord is actually a minor chord, based on what I have written down here. And I'm hoping everything is right, but you have to remember that every triad, which is basically a very simple chord, is always going to be a triad. You have a root third and a fifth. So in other words, your root note is the very first note that you play. If that chord says, let's say for example, a C chord. The very first note is a C. Root, third, fifth. Wait, root, third, fifth. That's your fifth. That's your third. You have a C chord. Same with the D. Root. That's an augmented chord. Hold on 1 second. Root, third, fifth. How about your E chord? Root, third, fifth. How about your F major chord? This chord is kind of interesting. If you have root, third, fifth, and then it's this back to the root again. You'll notice that in chords you'll play a lot of the same notes that are in. So it actually is 3 notes. You might be playing 4 or 5 notes, but you're actually playing 3 notes because you have octaves of certain other notes. These 2 notes, even though this is the root, it's also the last note, but much higher. That creates an octave. So that's your F chord. It's also a triad. Triads are comprised of 3 notes, a root, third, and fifth. Then you have a G chord, the famous G chord. Then you have, this is for the key of C, by the way, C major. Then you have an A chord, which also has a root, third, fifth. I like that chord a lot better. I always play the power chord, which is just this string and this string. And can be this string. So then you have the final chord, which is a diminished chord, which sounds like this. Now that chord is very weird and doesn't have any octaves. It's 1/2 step over another half step. So you have. It's kind of interesting. But it's very interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. Weird. But as long as you know 1, 4, 5, and 2, 3, 6, you basically are pretty much good to go. So, for example, the key of G. That's your 1. This is your 4. That's your 1. This is your 4. And this is your 5. That's your 5. So 1, 4, and 5. Then for your minor chords, you have. And then that weird chord up here. Sorry about dogs. But that's basically how it goes. So you have 1, which is 1, which is 2, which is 3, which is 4, which is 5, which is 6, and then the 7th one, which is diminished. You can kind of make a little tiny song with it. That's basically how it goes, and that's basically what I learned in the 3rd video of this series at Guitar Zoom. You should really check them out. It is really helping a lot on my music theory, and it's helping me learn how to play guitar better. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment down below if you enjoyed this video. Do not forget to hit the notification bell if you're on YouTube, and please feel free to look forward to other songs and videos that I have coming out soon. Thanks for watching, and you're watching Hard Rock Nation.